What's up, everybody? My beautiful souls. Hope all is well. Everybody had a wonderful weekend. Seen some fireworks. All them beautiful things. Anything is possible. But I wanted to make this video. I was sitting there thinking, what is a video I can make that would help the people that need the most help? The most help. And I started reflecting back on my past and where I once was, and then said, only I had found a video that gave me some type of hope that I do have a purpose and I'm not just wasting my life doing senseless shit, abusing my body, taking advantage of precious time, all that stuff. Because there's no such thing as an accident in this world. No such thing. So if you're in a bad relationship, an abusive family, suffering from an addiction, it's not an accident. And you're not a victim. Believe it or not, that was all happening for you. Even though it seems as though it is happening to you, because you're like, what the fuck? But just remember, if we're talking about addiction, just remember, you chose to use that first time. You enjoyed it. It numbed your emotions. And you continue to proceed. But now, time goes by, and that substance doesn't have the same effect that it once had. So you're no longer numbing yourself. You're just trying to sustain, really. At least that's how it was at the end of my addiction. I wasn't really getting high because it wouldn't get me high no more. And I just want to make this disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm me. I am me. So any advice that I give to you is just my experience. And it's up to you to follow your heart and see what resonates with you. But, so let's just say you're struggling from addiction, right? And you want out, you're sick of it, but you feel lost and you don't know where to turn and you just feel like there's no way out. I've been there. I used to wake up every morning, and as soon as my eyes opened, I would think, fuck, here we go again. Another day of fucking chasing this fucking dragon, feeding this unsatiable monkey. And it sucked. I ain't gonna lie, it fucking sucked. And every day I would ask, towards the end of my addiction, I would ask, please, God, help me out of this by any means. I am not strong enough to make the decisions that I need to make to get me out of this. So I need your help. I need you to intervene by any means, whatever it takes. Just get me out of this. And I promise I'll pay you back. And that's all you have to do. Just ask. And let the universe make the decision for you. It'll put you into a certain circumstances that, at the time you might not like one bit. And it might seem like it's all happening to you, but it's not. You asked for it. It's happening for you. In my experience, I was waking up every day pissed off because I was the victim. But I asked for a way out. I said, by any means, find me a way out, please. I'm sick of this. And then one day, I was struggling to come up with some money so I can get my sick off. And I thought, let me get on Craigslist and make a few posts. Maybe I could find someone to take advantage of or get one over on, or even at the very least find some work, some simple work where I can make a few bucks. So I made a list. I made a posting on Craigslist saying, hey, I'm from such and such area. I'm out of work right now. I could really use the money. I'm behind on bills. If anybody has any work that they need done around the house, this is what I'm capable of. So I made that post. Sure enough, had a bunch of replies on it. And I went, responded to the replies, and a few of them were like, yeah, just send me your name, your information, and where exactly you live at, and I'll have some work for you. So I did that. And, I wasn't even thinking anything of it. And like a few days later, I had checked the mail, and I had a few letters in there. And I didn't recognize them, so I opened them up. And sure enough, they were checks. And I'm like, why do I have paychecks coming in? Sure enough, I checked my email, and I open up a few to the Craigslist ads, and they're like, oh yeah, I paid you in advance. I gave you an advancement and money for materials and whatnot. Cash this check, take out your half, and then send me the rest, because I accidentally wrote the check for over the amount. And I was a dope fiend at the time. I wasn't stupid. I was like, right. Let me fucking deposit this bullshit ass check into my bank account and then send you half of it, and then me deal with the fucking consequences. No siree, Bob, that is not my job. So I went off and I deposited the check, except I kept the money for myself. So the first check went fine, got some funds. And then the last check that I had was actually a personal check. And it was like from a guy in Florida. And I was just like, wow. I was like, I don't know. Something's telling me not to burn this check. I even had that thought. I said, the other one worked. Let me burn these last checks I have. But I never did it. And sure enough, the money ran dry. And I was thirsty again. So I was like, oh, fuck, I got them last 2 checks. So I took the one, and it said Bank of America on it. So I went down to Bank of America. I went through the drive-thru. I had my dog in the car with me. That was my roll dog. We went everywhere together. His name was Max. And, I slid through the drive-thru, and she's like, oh, yeah, we can cash this, but you're just going to have to come inside. I'm like, all right. So I pull around, come inside, give her my ID, give her the check, sign it over, whatnot. And it's taking a little bit longer, and I'm asking her, I'm like, hey, what's going on with this, She's like, oh, everything's fine. She's like, I just had to get approval from the bank manager. They're working it out right now, but you're good. And I'm like, okay, cool. Time went by, I'm still waiting, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I had a thought in my head. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to jail. I was like, this doesn't take that long. But I was like at peace with it. Something was like, I was at peace with it. I wasn't like, oh shit, I better go. Because I had the opportunity to walk right out that door and deal with the consequences later. But like my intuition, it says, hey, this is your way out. Just go with the flow. Don't run from it. It's only going to get worse if you do. So I was like, I wasn't guaranteed. Like I wasn't like that I was going to get locked up. It was just a thought. But sure enough, the bank manager had called me in the back, and she started asking me random questions about the check. And I was like, it confirmed. Because you could tell, like, she was, like, asking me senseless, rhetorical questions just to keep me there till the police got there. And sure enough, after about 5 dumb questions, I look behind me, and there's 2 police officers. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I cuff up. They take my keys, my wallet, whatnot. Said I'm under arrest for fucking check fraud or something like that, identity theft, something along them lines. And I'm like, all right. Granted, I had my dog out in the fucking parking lot in the car that I was with, which it was my sister's car. And I was driving on suspended. My license had just started suspended. I swear my whole life was just started falling apart. I quit my job, I lost my license, and it was just falling apart. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And sure enough, topping on the cake, I get arrested for this bad check. So I'm going out, and I'm about to get put in the squad car, and the lady comes out like, officer, this is his car. That's his dog. And he goes, is it? I'm like, yeah, it is. He's like, oh, you should have said something, man. He's like, well, you just going to leave the dog there? I was like, well, believe it or not, I was going to wait till we got to the police station, make a phone call, and have my mom pick it up. He's like, yeah, we can't do that. We're going to have to call the pound. I'm like, damn. So they impounded my dog. They left the car there because he was like, I know your license is suspended. He's like, but I'm not going to bring you any more problems than you already have. He's like, I want to see you get better. Like, honestly, it was like a really easygoing, cool cop. And I don't say that too freely. He's like, I know your license is suspended, but just give me your keys. I'm going to put them in your property. You're going to sign this slip, and your mom will be able to come pick up the keys so she can get the car. And I'm like, all right. So I go to county jail, sitting there dope sick as hell in the jail cell, hating my life. But I knew it was what I had to go through, you know? And that's what I'm telling you guys. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us put us on the path for our greatest potential. Because I ain't gonna lie, like, when I was incarcerated in county, I sat there for 6 months and I told myself, I accepted. I was like, I need at least 3 years, 3-year sentence, which you would do a year and a half off of. Just so I got that clean time. Because I knew if I was only in there for 6 months, yeah, I would have detoxed, but mentally I still would have been scarred, you know? Sure enough, you know, I get sentenced to 4 years. They actually were trying to give me 7 because I have a background. 7 or 8, one of the two. And I'm like, I ain't taking that. You got me fucked up. So I waited it out, took a blind plea with the judge, and the judge gave me 4 years. I ended up doing 2 off the 4 years, like a year and a half or 2 years, because I ended up getting some good time. Well, anyways, when I got there, you know, when I was in the county, after I like detoxed and everything, I started working out, and I was so fucking weak, guys. I couldn't even do a single push-up. I had to do push-ups off the wall. But I kept through it. I kept on doing it. And when I got to the DOC, I started lifting weights, and I just kept with it, and I started watching what I eat, and I got into good shape, and my mind started, you know, clearing out all the garbage. And, you know, when I came to get released, or I was like a month or 2 before I was getting released, they told me that I was going to be on electronic monitoring, which is house arrest. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is bullshit. And I'm back to the victim. And then on top of it, I didn't have a place to parole to. So I ended up getting put in a halfway house in Chicago Heights, Illinois. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? You know? And I had like a negative mindset on it. And one of my cellmates was like, what makes you so fucking special, bro? He's like, what makes you think they want Michael at their halfway house? Like, it is a privilege for you to be there. No, it is a fucking blessing for you. They are looking out for you. Consider that a blessing. And it totally changed my mindset on it. And I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. And I went there, and you know what? It was made for me, you know? It was a great halfway house. They had weights in the basement and everything. It was set up so perfectly. And I realized, like, everything started happening for me. I ended up finding a girlfriend, ended up getting a job, and things were going for me. Saved my money. I got a car. And ever since 2013, that bad check, me going to prison, was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because there ain't no telling where I would be right now if it wasn't for that decision that I made. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys, is some of the worst decisions that we make put us on the path to the greatest life possible. So keep an open mind, because you never know. There has been multiple situations where some bad shit had happened to me, and I almost fell into the victim mentality. And just to realize, you know, a few months later, it all made sense, and I realized why it happened. And, you know, then I started going through this whole awakening thing. And that was like 3 years later. But honestly, I think that was like the beginning of my awakening. My brain was just so fogged up with all the drugs that I was using, I couldn't see it. And then finally I started battling with depression out of nowhere. And I'm like, how do you get depression out of nowhere? Like, things are going good. There's no reason for me to be depressed. So I started looking up natural remedies on, you know, how to cure depression. And I ended up coming across an article for the third wave. It was how psychedelic mushrooms are helping with mental illnesses, addictions, and some other things. Because I ain't gonna lie, I was still struggling with the addiction, like the mental part of it, you know, like I would have these cravings and I would have these triggers, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a few times where I went out drug hunting, and by the grace of God, I ended up going to my my vape shop that I go to, and they sell Kratom there, and I ended up trying the Kratom because I was literally looking for drugs. I'm not gonna lie, like the cravings were that freaking strong, and I found Kratom. I'm getting off my topic though. So I was going through this depression. Ended up finding the article about psychedelic mushrooms curing depression. So I was like, why not? Except I didn't know where to get them. So I ended up looking, ways to acquire them, and I found out how to cultivate them, and I started growing them. And I was successful at it. I had plenty. I think I ended up having like 2 or 3 ounces of them. I'm like, me and my buddy, we ended up planning a whole journey on it. Went to this forest reserve, whatnot. It ended up being a funny story because we thought this forest reserve was like this big old trail we could walk around with miles and we could just explore. It ended up being really small, like a quarter mile. But it ended up being the coolest place we have ever experienced because they had like all these like jungle gym terrains. It was cool as hell. So we were like, we'll just stay here because we couldn't go. We already dosed. And I had a really, really, life-changing experience, but I didn't even know it at the time. I think somehow, like, I activated my DNA through that experience. There's no other explanation for it. And that's when I started, the depression was gone. It was gone. I had this sense of peace after this depression. Like all that negative mental chatter started to quiet down. And it was great. And then out of nowhere, I started noticing these numbers show up in my life, And I didn't really pay much attention because the number I was seeing was my birthday, 10/18. And I was like, I think I'm just noticing that number because it's my birthday. That's why I'm seeing it so much. But it would show up 3-4 times a day in the weirdest circumstances, just the weirdest things. And then I was telling my buddy Alfonso, who just happened to be going through this awakening journey along with me, and we ended up meeting up at that job. I was telling him, I was like, man, do you know anything about numbers keep showing up in your life? He's like, no. Why? I was like, dude, because I keep on getting this specific number, my birthday. And I don't know why I'm seeing it, and I'm thinking it's trying to tell me something because I'm seeing it too much. He's like, oh, maybe you're just, overlooking it. And as I'm saying this, I'm looking, and I look at this, my attention was drawn to the box, and sure enough, it was 10/18. I'm like, dude, see, look, it's right here. He goes, oh, wow, that's fucking weird. I'm like, yeah. So I was like, I got to Google this. So I ended up Googling the meaning of angel number 1018, except I didn't say angel number. I just said number, and angel number popped up. And I read the information that it was telling me, and it totally resonated with me. And I just followed, and as soon as I acknowledged that number, that's when all the other numbers came, like 333, 222, 1111. All of them would come. And I just kept on following my intuition through them. And in the beginning, it was a struggle because I didn't trust it. It was cool that I was seeing these numbers constant, and I was like, it has to mean something, but I wasn't trusting it. And then that job was just driving me mad. Like I was doing this work on myself, the shadow work, which I didn't even know I was doing it at the time. And I was like, every time I go back to this job, I ended up becoming the same person that I was, that ignorant asshole. So I ended up walking out on the job, and I was like, I'm gonna figure this shit out. Somehow, some way, I'm gonna figure it out. I was like, I believe I got a purpose on this planet, and I'm gonna fucking find it. So I ended up quitting the job with the expectations of unemployment, and that didn't work out. So I was just like, after the money ran dry, I started panicking, lost my faith, ended up getting another job. And I felt like I was supposed to go to that job and meet this guy, and that didn't end up working out. And then I fucking, said, I'm gonna do it again, quit the job, trust the universe. And then, like I said, I fucking fell back into that, lost my faith. But the last time I told myself, this is it. And I even told my girlfriend. And my girlfriend, at the time, she just thought I was just talking out my ass. Until she realized, like, wow, he's serious about this. She was like, you need to get a job. She's like, I need somebody a little bit more responsible, someone a little bit this. I'm like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And I was like, well, maybe this ain't supposed to be. Maybe we learned our lessons from each other and it's time to move on and whatnot. And it was so weird. We went to go see the movie Wreck-It Ralph 2. Ralph Wrecks the Internet. And that movie was talking to me. Like, when I left that movie theater, I knew it was time to end the relationship. Like, I cried my eyes out. It was a loss, but I accepted it. And then after that, after I ended the relationship, so much just started happening for me. And I was like, wow, that was the decision that it said I had to make in order for me move along my journey. And I decided to fucking just sell all of my stuff, pack my car up, and skedaddle to fucking California because I had some like modeling and acting work out there. And I fucking get all the way to Colorado and total my car. And I ended up having to call my sister who stays out in Washington State and say, hey, can I come stay with you until I figure this car thing out? And sure enough, this is where I'm at now, and everything is happening for me. I'm not working, but I'm supported. I got the time to do this shadow work and work on myself. And at times I'm like, why isn't anything happening for me? It's like nothing's happening. But then I have this intuitive thought, be like, be patient. You got to do this work. You got to undo all these programs and all these self-limiting beliefs. You have to release them before we get to the next step on your journey. And that's what I've been doing, and I've came so far. I'm still doing the work, and my mind is just so clear, and I'm actually thinking about the things that I want to experience in life instead of fucking like senseless ass worry. And that brings me to this saying that I love so much. I think I heard it from Wayne Dyer, and he says, worry is prayer for the things that you don't want. So if what we think about gets drawn into our lives, why the fuck would you want to think of some shit that you don't want to experience? So make sure you're only thinking about the things that you want to experience. And in the beginning, guys, it's a fucking struggle. It's a struggle, because these thoughts are just going to keep coming. But you have to say, oh, that thought doesn't serve me, and I release it for healing. And you release it through your breath, and you constantly do that every time you have a negative emotion and you don't know where it comes from. And if you're going through this journey, you know what it means. You could be doing absolutely anything, and then all of a sudden you have this negative emotion. Maybe it was a quick thought that you had, and you get this low vibrational, dense ass emotion, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you're like, doesn't serve me, let me release it. And you keep doing that, you're gonna undo them neural pathways, and eventually they're gonna be gone. And that's what I've been doing. But it's a process. But as long as you stay consistent on it, man, you're gonna fucking just be so glad you did that work. You're gonna be so glad you did that work. And I just want to give you guys hope that if you're in a dark place, whether it's an addiction or a bad relationship which you can't get out of, maybe you're not strong enough to make that decision right now. But that's when you talk to your spirit guides, your angels, your ascended masters, God, the universe, however you refer to them. Just talk to them and say, look, I'm not strong enough to make this decision, and I need your help. Please intervene. I give you permission to just come into my life and intervene. And when it shows up, you might not like it, but just go with the flow. If I had one piece of advice to anybody going through this journey, just go with the flow. Don't hold any expectations on where you're supposed to be and how this journey is supposed to go, and just be open to everything but attached to nothing. That is the simplest way. Like, You know, like I have this expectation like, oh, I'm going through this awakening and I'm doing the work. I should be here. This should be showing up. I should have this, and it's not here. And all that does is cause resistance. It just causes resistance. And anytime that you have resistance, you're stopping the flow. So you got to catch it. You got to be like, whoa, 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 I'm causing resistance. Breathe it out. Just be peace. Be in the moment. And just say, I accept it. It is what it is. I'm doing the work. And once the universe feels that I'm ready to take that next step, it's going to present me with an opportunity that's going to serve me, serve my highest good. And just keep an open mind. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. And if you want change in your life, but you're not ready to make it, then talk to your spiritual realm. They're here to serve you. You're never alone. You're never alone. You might feel alone, and I could relate, I know, but you're not. And just be at peace and just enjoy the process. Even though it's a difficult process, it's so much easier when you enjoy it, because then, you know, you're not, it's difficult to enjoy, right? And then when I get in them dark moods, like some days I'll feel on top of the world. And like I'm making strides along my journey, and then it could just come to a standstill, almost like I take 3 steps behind, and I'm like, I feel down, I feel depressed, I feel low. These emotions come up to the surface that I don't want to deal with. But once that happens so many times, and I realize like every time that happens and it passes, it seems like I took 5 leaps forward. You know, so just accept that, like be one with it. When you go through this and it feels like it's one of them days where you're just behind, or you feel behind and you feel low and you feel worthless, just saying, this is here to serve me. This is part of the process. I need this to come to the surface so I could release it, because it no longer serves my highest good. And just be one with it. Life's a blessing every day. Every day, you know, and just trust and be one with the process. And I promise it will take care of itself. You're going to have such an amazing life. And your imagination is just not, it's not even, how could I say it? Put it this way. When you get to where you're going and you're following your highest joy and serving your purpose, and you're being of service, your life is going to far exceed any expectation that you've ever had. So keep an open mind, and don't be like, oh, this is what I want to do, and this is how it's going to be. Just be like, the way I do it is I go by emotions, not experiences. Like I don't say, oh, I want to be a motivational speaker on stage at this state, driving this, with this house, and all this money in the bank. No, I don't say that. I say, I just want to live my highest joy. I want to find my purpose, and I want to be of service that will bring me fulfillment, that will bring me prosperity, that will bring me wealth and happiness and good health. So I explain it through all the emotions that I want to experience, instead of limiting myself to be like, oh, it has to be like this and it has to be like that, and I want this and I want that. No, just say, this is how I want to feel, and this is how I want my life to go. And then you have endless opportunities that might arise that you never even knew was possible. So don't cheat yourself, treat yourself. And life will take care of you. I promise you. I'm living proof of it. I would wish I could get on here and post more often, but that's a battle that I'm struggling with. And I'm going to post this video regardless of somebody wants to watch a 30-minute video. I apologize. But I'm sure someone out there that's going through this struggle, that, you know, not even aware that they're going through this awakening process, but it seems like their whole life is falling apart. And that's the beginning of the process, because you've built a life around others' expectations of how you think you should be living your life. Oh, you got to go to school, or you got to get a job, and you got to pay your bills, and you got to do this. You got to go get a family, and then a house and a white picket fence. Fuck that. Follow your heart. You know? Quit living up to everybody else's expectations. And because you did that and you lived your life like that for so long, all them other things have to fall away so you can welcome the new into your life. But in order for the new to come in, you have to let go of the old that is no longer serving you. And that's a difficult process. It really is. But I'm here to tell you that it works and it's beautiful. And if you just follow your intuition and connect and you do that work, you go within, you do your meditations, you do your breath work, and you're releasing them emotions when they come to the surface, you're all good. But I'm here to tell you that you do have the support. It's right here. It's right here. Because one thing that I've noticed is your family ain't going to understand you. They just don't understand it. They don't see it. They're going to think you're going crazy. And they're going to tell you why it's not going to work and why you're stupid for even thinking like that and you need to wake up. But don't buy into that. Just trust yourself. That's the universe takes care of those who follow their heart. That's guaranteed. Guaranteed. And if you just subscribe to this channel, I'm going to post my, just keep you posted on my journey and show how it's all happening for me. And that's it. So if you know anybody that could benefit from this video and that's in that struggle, please share it. And if you liked what I said, it resonated with you, subscribe. Either way, I'll be here living the dream, loving life. Have a blessed day.